So now we are 3 episodes down in season 2 of The Bad Batch.
Warning.
I'll just jump in with my quick thoughts here on this. Quick thoughts I'll say on episode 1 and 2, because I don't know about you, but I definitely have the most to talk about with episode 3. Episode 1 and 2, I thought was like a wham bang adventure. Welcome back, The Bad Batch is back, like just thrown into this adventure. Only, in my opinion, in light of the 3rd episode, because the first 2 episodes, the first one is really more of like the adventure, and you see Sid, then you meet Wanda Sykes' new character. You see the droid from last season, I think it's AZ, is he's alive and well, and he's serving drinks at Sid's bar. That's all fantastic. And then the second episode, you do get into those classic darker Bad Batch kind of overtones with all of this stuff about basically war profiteering on Sereno, and basically the Empire is trying to nab up all of Dooku's fortune. And so the Bad Batch basically hear about this job, and they're trying to scoop up some for themselves, obviously, to help others and, you know, do what the Bad Batch does, which is try to improve anything in the galaxy for anyone. I love those 2 episodes. I really like the whole aspect. I like that the Bad Batch is, whereas, you know, Clone Wars into Rebels was more of like a restart where they were like, all right, we're gonna make this for the young kids now. This, I feel like they went, okay, we're gonna make this for all the people that really wanted Clone Wars season 7. You know what I mean? Like, the Bad Batch didn't go like, all right, we're resetting this, and this show is now for the new 10-year-olds. They were like, this show is for the 16-year-olds that were 10 when Rebels came out. You know, stuff like that. And I really, really like that, because it allows it to be a fun, family-friendlier show than like something like Andor or even Mando, but still get into those darker themes. So what did you like overall think of, let's just say, episode 1 and 2? We'll get that out of the way quick and then talk about 3.
Sorry, real quick, can you give me a rundown of what happened in episode 1? I'm like blanking.
Episode
I know
1,
we started on like the beach and all that stuff, but
I am blanking too, because it's been like almost 2 weeks. I genuinely think that all of episode 1 was we pick up, we're just right in the middle of a job.
Right.
We go back to Ord Mantell. Things are a little bit worse there. And then Sid sends them on the job to Sereno. And then I think episode 1 just ends with them getting trapped in the cargo container and then falling.
Oh, okay.
I think that, because it was like a 2-parter, so they're all blending together for me. But I think that was really that. And then episode 2 led off with more of Hunter and Wrecker, which I don't know about you, but as soon as they were in that throne room, I was like, if somebody doesn't go down that trap door like Dooku did, I don't know what we're doing with this show. And then luckily they did. But that's pretty much the gist of 1 and 2.
Yeah, I really enjoyed those. Just coming back, it feels like it's been a really long time.
I know.
I loved that just coming back to, like you said, that throne room that we've seen so many times in Clone Wars, and obviously using the trapdoor. That's a great callback. You know, I'm struggling to. Again, like you said, it's been 2 weeks, but again, it's also, when did season 1 come out? A year ago, maybe a year and a half.
Year and a half, yeah.
Yeah. So when I was watching it, I know I was struggling to remember. I was like, okay, Omega, like, what is her deal again? Like, why are we?
Yeah, I had a second of that too. I was like, what's her ability? And then I was like, oh yeah, her ability is that she's just normal. Like, her ability is that she doesn't age.
Yeah, and even episode, like, we'll talk about episode 3 in a second, but when what's his name showed up, I was like, oh my god, I forgot he was like even a character. Like, I don't remember him at all.
Do you know what's crazy? Well, let's I gotta
episode 1 and 2,
note
good
that.
episodes.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
That's what I got.
You know what's crazy? Oh, hang on. Molly in the chat said, what is your coffee order? I guess I'll touch on that for half a second. I have decided that anytime I need to record a video, because I have the Panera Unlimited Sips, like club or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I've decided.
You fall asleep a lot.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, just let me like divide up my mind to this quick sidebar. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but in the week that we had off, the TJ unfortunately had COVID, I did take the opportunity. I redid literally everything, not where my actual desk is. This is still the same wall that I had before, but I pivoted everything to the corner, and I added my shelf there so I can have a little bit better of a background. And now I have 2 ring lights, So if I look a little bit better or a little bit less with a giant, circle of white on my forehead, that would be why. But on that note, I've been trying to, be better about getting recordings done and everything. So I normally do not drink coffee ever, but I've just decided in 2023, this is basically the main resolution I've been sticking with, is that I drink coffee now, for better or worse, which is something I never thought would happen. I've had a couple of those in my life. Like, I feel like when I was 15, I was like, I will never eat Mexican food. That's too spicy and I don't like tomatoes. And then you realize, well, you can take it the way that you can palate it. Same thing with the coffee. So I've been taking large hazelnut coffee, 3 cream, 3 sugar. That is the answer to that question.
Triple.
Yeah. Listen, man, I got to get through it somehow. I want to wean it down sugar first, but I got to get more used to the coffee flavor. Because the hazelnut is not that strong, I'll tell you. Cody, interesting note about Cody, about you saying, oh my god, this guy, the last time canonically we saw him was 18 years ago in Revenge of the Sith. That's the last time we saw Cody in timeline order. So, I mean, the fact that you were,
I'm not even talking about Cody.
Oh, who are you talking about?
I'm talking about, oh my god.
Crosshair?
Yes.
Oh, shit. Well, that's fair enough, I guess. Yeah.
I was like, what episode was it last that we saw? Not the last one, was it?
Well, just the finale. The finale of the last season.
Yeah.
Which, like we said, that was, I think the finale was August 2021. Was the finale. So August 2021. Yeah, almost. It's been almost, a year and 6 months since the finale of the last season. But yeah, Crosshair too. I mean, also, he's only had the one season of shows. But yeah, episode 3 for me, just quickly, I think for me it is easily, just plain and simple, one of the best, I think, episodes of Star Wars we've ever gotten. I thought that it had, maybe 10% of that, like, oh, this can be for kids too, of like, an adventure and, some funny lines from some of the battle droids that we saw. But really, when it comes down to it, the theme of this episode is, peace was never an option, which, you see the horrific result of that at the end, which I'll save. I'll let you get into that. But, speaking of Cody, I think as great as this episode was, as revisiting Crosshair and kind of catching back up with what he's been doing, I think it was equally great to see the kind of differences between him and Cody. And the episode title too, The Solitary Clone, I think it could refer to both of them. It could refer to Crosshair of he's alone, he's away from his brothers, he's fighting for this cause that, he wants to believe in, he believes that he believes in, but us as an audience, we know, he let his brothers go at the end of last season.
Right.
Like, we know that there is something in him, even if he wants to deny it himself. And then I think the solitary clone can also apply to Cody, with which, he feels like am I the only one left who remembers what we were fighting for? Which is a huge departure from Cody and Legends, which, Cody and Legends became, full-blooded, Empire all the way, like, rah-rah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so some of the reviews I've been watching, I agree with them that they're thinking, if Crosshair really never does come back to, the side of good, maybe he's just going to take that Cody role, where he's just going to be, a lifer with the Empire. And then also, last person before I throw it over to you that I want to shout out, besides, like, the governor of this episode, who I thought was fantastic too, but recurring character, I think this episode for me took Moff Rampart. I think it took him from just mustache twirling Imperial villain to this guy is just sadistic. Like, he just doesn't give a shit about any of these clones.
He's the guy at the end of the second episode, right?
Yeah, that kills Commander Wilco. Which, again, like we said, even though we said, 1 and 2 were more of the, upbeat kind of adventure of the week thing, it literally ends with Rampart saying, like him going, "So I won't falsify a report," and he goes, "I know," and shoots him in the back of the head. Like, oh my god! But I really like that because I feel like season 1, I feel like both of us in some of the reviews I remember, like, we were like, okay, I like this Rampart guy, but like, let's bring Tarkin back. Like, why isn't he in more episodes? I think these first 3 episodes are really setting up, like, okay, Rampart is going to be the Bad Batch's, main Imperial antagonist. And I think he really went up a few notches for me this episode. But what did you think of episode 3, The Solitary Clone?
I thought it was good. I think, for me, I thought the strongest part of the episode was the last 10 minutes.
100%.
Just that whole, obviously that whole thing of like, by the way, was I supposed to know who Tawny Ames was?
No, it was just
because I was like, I don't know who I was.
Yeah, just by context, it was just like, okay, she was one of the ones working with Mina Bonteri and Padme, like that, but we never met her before.
That whole thing about her talking about, we don't really have a choice. Like, you're coming here to take my land, even though, we were separate before. But now
we were never even part of the Republic.
Right, we were not a part of the Republic, but now that this whole, when she says, "Oh, Dooku," I was like, well, wasn't Dooku like still kind of I don't think Dooku was going on with the Emperor not knowing what the whole kind of grand scheme was.
but they don't know that. Like, that's the great part, is that to them, they're, like her, Tawny Ames, she's thinking, the Jedi really did overthrow the Republic and they killed Dooku.
True, yeah.
That sucks, but, he had the right idea. Like, to them, that's still a secret, which that would be an interesting canon thing one day, is, does the galaxy ever find out that Dooku was a Sith Lord?
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think. Yeah. I just was assuming that everybody probably found out, but you're also a good point. Like, maybe they just never knew that.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome, that whole messaging, and then the end where.
And that Kevin Kiner score.
Why can't I remember his name?
Crosshair,
yeah. When he walks into the Admiral Rampart, and he's like, "Oh, you're going to blah blah blah." He's like, "Oh, you're not sending me to Cody." He's like, "Oh, Cody went AWOL."
Yeah.
It's like,
well, not before saying Cody, like, who's Cody?
Who's
use
that guy?
Use his number, or I'm not going to answer you. Like, I loved that, and then like, because it just shows, like we said, Crosshair. There's something in there that he is not gelling with what this is, but he is just gonna be. I mean, look at the lunch scene, which I think is one of the more lighthearted moments of this episode. But it shows you the guy. Nobody even wants to sit with him. Even his brothers, the regs have all turned on him as well, because they see him as this guy. Either, I'm sure half of them see him as this, cold-blooded killer, and half of them see him as, that's the guy, he definitely let the Bad Batch escape. Like, he's making enemies everywhere he goes, and I think that really lends itself to the title of Solitary Clone. Yeah. But like you said, go for it.
When they're like, I don't know what they're outside of, that like monument they're looking at. What is that?
Yeah, I thought that was brand new for this episode. I guess in the in season 6 season 5 in Padawan Lost, when Ahsoka's like on the run for the bombing.
Yeah.
Apparently she runs by it, but what it is it's the oldest monument for the Clone Wars. It was built in honor of all the clones that died in the first Battle of Geonosis. So it was built right after Attack of the Clones. So it was built technically, I think, even before the actual Clone Wars started.
When he's talking about, and Cody's like, what's the difference between like us and droids? And they're talking about like following orders, but he's like, but we have to like live with what we have done. Like, droids are just, they're not really sentient.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we have to follow all these orders, but we also have to remember,
live with them,
and live with the stuff that we've done.
Yeah,
I thought that was really interesting. And then obviously is when he goes later, and it's they say he went AWOL. I was like, oh, that tracks.
Yeah,
I was like, you can sense it from the beginning of the episode that he's kind of like obviously questioning everything, and probably is gonna dip at some point.
Yeah, and then too, like you said, the last 10 minutes really, but as great as Crosshair was in this episode, and I really think he's fantastic in this episode, I feel like the episode was like, all right, we're gonna bring you back up to speed with Crosshair, but we have a lot of legwork to do with Cody, because it's been a while since, and clearly this is not going to be Cody's last episode of the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
So it's like we had even more work to do with Cody, and almost every interaction that Cody had, whether it was with Crosshair or later on with Governor Ames, especially with Governor Ames when, you know, she's holding the gun to the, you know, rightful governor, which I love. That guy's name is Groton. And Dave Filoni said, there was an interview that was like, gotta be rotten. Was literally just that, was just what, like, just one of those Star Wars things. Yeah. But Savage Opress, gotta love Star Wars names. But when she said, what does he say? You know, he goes, I didn't come here to debate politics with you, Governor. And she goes, well, maybe if you had, you'd see how, you know, how awful the atrocities you're committing really are. And that makes him think. And then, you know, he says, you know, he takes off his helmet, puts down his weapon, and then believes for that last gasp. Because like you said, you can clearly tell that Cody is not comfortable with the situation as much as he wants to say he is. That last gasp of maybe what the Republic stood for is still there. Of, all right, we can do this peacefully. And then as soon as he puts it down, the guy is like, you know, kill her. And then, for me, the terrible Andor connection of when he goes, put her body in the square. My mind immediately went to Clem Andor with, you know, getting, you know, killed literally for doing nothing by clones and strung up in the square on Ferrix. Like, my mind immediately went back to that. It's just, we are in this early phase of the Empire where they are just going to exert as little control as harshly as they possibly can. And it's just so brutal. And I love that Star Wars can be this. Like, this is to me when it's like really amazing. Like, I love, you know, them running across a beach fighting off like 20 or 30 giant crab monsters. But like, when you can really have these discussions that also help younger viewers, you know, understand things, but even older people like us, like, get these life lessons from this cartoon show, I think has always been the strength of Star Wars animation.